Hi, I'm Chaz Kangas for Speak Minneapolis. Here on a very special occasion, I am joined by one of the signature influential duos of the new millennium in terms of the world of hip hop, a duo who have been incredibly consistent together and in their own solo endeavors, but they are reuniting for a show happening in Minneapolis, 7th Street Entry on July 25th, celebrating both their landmark mid-aughts indie ground classic Below the Heavens as well as the brand new album Time Heals Everything. I'm here with Blu and Exile. Gentlemen, how you doing today?
Oh yeah. How's it going, guys?
Good to see you, man.
Hey, good seeing you too. So, Below the Heavens came out. We're celebrating the 20th anniversary of it. Personally, I remember getting my copy of it. It's been disputed whether there were only 3,500 copies pressed or 7,000 copies pressed. All I know is I got the last copy that was sold at Fat Beats, New York, and it was held and sold to me by our future collaborator and friend at J57.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah,
That's amazing.
the full circle of it comes together. And so now you have this new album that came out this year, and congratulations on that again. And between that, the albums like in between, when putting together a set list for a show like you have coming up on July 25th, how do you even begin to put together what songs you want to do live?
Oh man, it's a process, man. And it's constantly changing. You know what I mean? We'll come up with a set list and a few days later may swap out some songs, may change our mind about something, you know. We may start touring and start changing the set list up.
Mhm.
It varies.
We'll put together a set list, then we'll meet up and just kind of get a feel for it, like how it will feel to the listener. And we try to figure out where we can put, like, crowd participation or like when we should speak to the audience. And we kind of feel like if this song is the right song, and then we'll kind of just, rehearse it live. And sometimes we'll both kind of get the same idea if a song shouldn't be in a certain place or if we should switch it out for another. And yeah, we just do it until it feels right, and
Yes, indeed.
then we'll perform it live, and we'll even give it another critique after we actually do our first show of a tour, and we might update it just a little bit to make it even tighter.
Mhm. And when we talk about the changing of songs after performing them live, of course, for the 10th anniversary of Below the Heavens, you performed the album in full with a complete band. And here we are, 10 years further removed from that. So going back to when you were making that first album, or even today, does the live performance factor into when you're recording the song in the studio?
I would say it did a lot during the making of Below the Heavens. I was really concentrating on how the songs would translate more live. And then as I began to keep making music, I kind of fell into a zone of just creating music for the music, as opposed to not just for the live show, and picking songs that work great live and doing them live, and letting other songs that may be good album cuts or just good listening cuts be just that.
And you mentioned doing songs themselves for the albums, and you have a number of albums. The year that Below the Heavens was released, you also released Crass Knuckles and Johnson and Johnson. This year, you have the
Yes.
four solo albums that came out like in addition to this album. And what's interesting, and because going back and reading a lot of your interviews from 2007, 2008, 2009, you uniquely would work on all these albums simultaneously. And some of your contemporaries who are similarly prolific, they mention a very specific writing structure of, they'll focus on one album and then get that done, then move on to the next one, even for the artists who are also putting out two, three albums in a year. So I'm wondering, with your process, how are you able to like keep your grand vision for what you want these albums to be while still managing to work on all of them and bring that vision to life in so many different directions?
Oh man, honestly, I try to come up with the vision before I start writing, a vision for the whole record, you know, and um and I keep that vision in mind when I'm working on it, and I try to make it different from any other record I've worked on. So it becomes easier to work on multiple projects at once. it's kind of like working on different songs as opposed to different albums, but really it's different albums, you know.
So when you're having a studio session and getting ready to record for it, do you ever record for multiple albums in the same day or the same session, or is that where you isolate it to
Mm,
being bringing the vision just together?
sometimes, rarely. Mostly I record for one project. Like I'll focus in, especially lately, I'll write a project in a month, and record it and be working on the next one at, say the next week or the next month. But I'll also go back to the other project that I just recorded and touch it up as I'm working on the next one. So they cross.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Exile, with this year, we're also celebrating the 20th anniversary of a song that you made for Mobb Deep, Pearly Gates, which many consider to be the pinnacle, the best thing to come out of the Mobb Deep G Unit era. And so I'm curious, how did that record come together, and when's the last time you listened to it?
Um, yeah, my manager at the time, Mock Chavez, had linked me up with Shy Money, and he, was part of G Unit and working closely with them, and just had been shooting them over beats. And yeah, he told me that they picked that beat, and it was pretty crazy when I got the song back and heard Prodigy's lyrics, which were pretty, controversially, kind of talking about like, basically a beef with his life and how he is had a rough life, and also with his struggles with sickle cell. So he was kind of like, he created a verse where he had a beef with Jesus, was talking ish to Jesus and whatnot. And it was pretty crazy to hear that. It took a while for it to sink in and for me to fully enjoy the track, just for how controversial it was. But yeah, I love that track now. I always have. Don't get me wrong, but of course it was a shock to a lot of listeners when they first heard it. But yeah, man, it's an amazing track, and I feel honored to be able to have laid the music for him to vent about his life in such a powerful way. The last time I listened to it, probably just like last month.
Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead. You mentioned in
really.
a 2012 interview that that was one of your two favorite beats that you ever made. And the other one you mentioned was on a song that I think may have not been released yet. You said there was a Snoop Dogg song called Lullaby. And
Oh, I said that.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
Snoop Dogg has since in the released his like he did a full Lullaby album about 2 years ago. I don't know. Did you get a chance to hear that? And did it's like an actual like legit
Wait,
children's
he did an
lullaby
album
album?
called Lullaby?
He did an album of children's lullabies. Yeah. So
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
I
Yeah.
haven't heard that either.
yeah, yeah. So I was just wondering if maybe if it didn't plant the seed, if there's any similarities in how the lullabies came out of Lullaby. So
Huh.
yeah.
No, no, it was just a track I had, and actually it had got previously released as an instrumental on Sound and Color, and he had just happened to do a song that definitely wasn't a children's song over it. And yeah, no, it wasn't for that project, and he never did release that one. But yeah, you never know. Maybe it'll come out. Maybe I'll sneak it out.
The new album, which is fantastic, the Time Heals Everything. My favorite track on it is In My Bag. I think it's just such a tremendous example of the really rare art of the lyrics meeting samples in songs. So, knowing the detail that you both, put in your production and into your lyrics, how do you even begin to approach making a track like that?
Oh man, that was a crazy one. That was a crazy one. Exile had the concept. I picked out the beat. The beat was crazy, and then Exile was like, "Yo, I got a concept for it." And oh no, it said the bag in it already, or did it?
I don't think it did. No, it didn't.
It didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And Exile had the concept, and then started putting the he put the bag in it,
The
and then
sample, the vocal sample.
yeah, the vocal sample, and then I wrote to that, And then he had an idea for the third verse to change up and, you know, incorporate classic hip hop references. You know what I mean? And I wrote to that idea, and you know,
Yeah, we basically like got together and you know the song was basically like just kind of a dissection of money, the evils, and you know the necessity of it, and what people will do for it or whatnot. And then we just kind of had a conversation about some iconic lines that had to do with money, and we kind of just we found them together, right?
yeah,
We
yeah.
just found a bunch of different you know lines, and I was like, you know, we just thought it would be a dope idea if he wrote a verse and incorporated all those lines, and I'd be able to pay homage to those records by you know actually using the samples from those songs. Well, not actual samples. I guess they are samples, but you know, different vocal points from those songs. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, because it really sounds like nothing else that's come out in quite a number of years, and it's like why aren't there more
Hell
songs
yeah.
like this? Because like I think like the last single that I can recall even incorporating that was the Vitamin D No Good single, and that was like 2003 ish. So, but it was so welcome and so cool to hear. So outstanding record. You know, you've mentioned in a few interviews regarding the sophomore release that you two put out, the "Give Me My Flowers While I Can Still Smell Them." How Blue used lyrics that had gone unused from her favorite color to put on for those beats when it came out, just because it's sort of like where you both were wanting to create at the time. And so, looking now, like years later on it, for your other projects you've worked on, do you ever or you frequently go back to like previous things you've made in years past that maybe hasn't seen the light of day, and then working that towards the future, or is that just a really unique situation?
No, actually, for the new album, the song "Lazy Afternoon" was recorded possibly 2013, 2012. So that's a super gem that we've been sitting on for a while, you know. And we felt it fit the record very well, so we put it on the album, you know. But yeah, that's an example of us pulling from, you know, the vault, you know.
So with Below the Heavens turning 20, it's one of those albums that from when it came out to even when new people discover it, it touches people on a very deep, spiritual, intimate level. And you can see that from the reviews of it. You can see it from the perspectives, the glowing reviews people have written about it. And being it's one of those albums that seems to have such a different, distinct, individual effect on listeners. What is the wildest misinterpretation you've ever had of one of your songs? Like, as a fan, ever heard something and completely misunderstood what you were going for on it, or?
Oh man. Ah, I can't even think of any right now, but Genius definitely fucks up a lot of my lyrics. You know.
Yeah.
Um, but fans seem to get what I'm saying, you know. They seem to get, you know, get what I'm trying to, you know, put across to them, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I can't even think of anything people have taken the wrong way, really. Can you think of anything? No, huh?
I can't think of nothing.
That's
Well,
a good
that's-
question.
yeah. It shows, the great communicator, as it were, that, people are picking up what you're putting down. So, finally, looking at Below the Heavens and reading the contemporary reviews of it at the time, because when it was released, you were 24, I want to say. Or at least that's what a lot of
Yes,
the reviews said. So with you
yes.
being 24, like the constant refrain in a lot of these from all different platforms, but the same parallel thought was how did this 24-year-old manage to pack what sounds like so much life experience into just 24 years prior to that? And now here we are, 2 decades following Below the Heavens. So if you could go back and say anything to yourselves when you were making Below the Heavens, knowing everything that was going to come in the 20 years since, what do you think that would be?
Make a commercial single. make a make a single on the album. You know,
Hmm.
the album it's so hip hop. You know what I mean? It's
First
so
things
real.
first was our commercial. That could have that we what we should do is uh
That's true. That's true.
put we should have put more money into the first things first song to get it on radio.
Come on.
But yeah.
Great.
Hell yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing so many great records and catching these performances in person coming up July 25th, 7th Street entry here in Minneapolis. Blue and Exile, thank you so much for your time today.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
man.
See you there.
Peace, peace.
Let's
See you
go.
guys.
Peace, guys.